Are you thinking about getting your GED diploma? Well, here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a number of pep talks that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You know that feeling? People look at you and don't believe in you.
You want some gentle encouragement.
Then you're on your way to your GED diploma and a better life.
But I know they're probably just a little bit nervous.
You can find it in yourself to take that first step.
You can improve your future. You can do this. I know you can.
You need to start pushing yourself.
Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need to get your GED diploma, we've got a pep talk that's right for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and find free GED classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education, brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
When you were a little kid and you thought about what you wanted to be, teaching was at the top of your list. But things changed. And as you got older, teaching didn't seem like the best option anymore. So you're thinking you'll be something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Now you want to be a doctor. You don't think teachers save lives? 25 at a time. An actress? Try playing a different role every time the bell rings. How about a scientist? Ever heard of physics? Chemistry? Who do you think teaches that? Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, and taking learning far beyond the four walls of the classroom. It's time to recognize that great things are happening in teaching and put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Jessica Devereaux in Baltimore. Early on Thursday, the Greek parliament approved a series of austerity measures in order to start receiving their €86 billion bailout. The deal has caused tensions in the Syriza party, as many feel betrayed by Prime Minister Tsipras, who was elected on a platform of rejecting austerity. While many are blaming domestic mismanagement as the cause for the potential Greek exit, what role did the Swiss banks play in inciting this crisis? Here to discuss all of this is James Henry. James is a leading economist, attorney, and investigative journalist who has written extensively about global issues. Thanks for joining us, James.
You're quite welcome.
So, James, let's get right into it. How are Swiss banks connected to the Greek debt crisis?
As of the third quarter of 2009, shortly before the first bailout, it turns out that Swiss private banks accounted for about 39% of all bank loans to Greece. That's a story that really hasn't been explored very systematically by the media. We've heard a lot about French and German banks getting bailed out by the ECB and the IMF. But the question is, what were the Swiss banks doing in lending all this money to Greece? And I think it's an interesting entree to another whole aspect of this, which is the role of the Greek elite, their offshore accounts, their offshore shipping industries, and other industries that are mainly held offshore, not paying their fair share of taxes in Greece. So this whole crisis sheds light on this kind of global offshore industry as well.
Okay, let's get into that a little bit more. As I mentioned in the introduction, there's a new set of austerity measures that were passed on Thursday, but there's also a focus on reform and reforming Greece's second largest industry, world's second largest industry, the international shipping industry. And I want to get a sense of what is the relationship between that industry and the Swiss banks and connecting it to Greece a little bit more specifically, and what will these reforms actually do?
Well, one of the provisions in the reform package that was passed, in addition to clamping down on home foreclosure, the rights of people to defend against home foreclosures, which I find really brutalitarian, is the idea of raising the tonnage fees paid by the Greek shipping industry. The shipping industry is, well, it's not the second largest industry. That would be banking or defense, but certainly shipping is one of the most important industries in the world. And this crisis really highlights the fact that it's basically an offshore industry. It's a lot of the individual ships are registered in places like Panama, Liberia, the Marshall Islands, with relatively low regulations of labor rights, of safety inspections, insurance requirements, as well as registration fees. Secondly, the owners of the industry basically inhabit, for the most part, in the case of Greece, they're not living in Greece. They're living transnational citizens of nowhere for tax purposes in places like Geneva and London and New York. And these are very prominent, very wealthy families. So the issue arises, are they paying their fair share of taxes in Greece? And the answer, I think, at a general level, is definitively no. And third, we have this odd case of sophisticated Swiss banks lending heavily to Greece right up to the very end of 2009, 78 billion euros of bank loans to Greece. I've got to believe that a lot of that represents what's called back-to-back loans, basically where you have private banking assets accumulated by wealthy individuals. You're feeling secure about lending to Greece because those loans are backed up in the first instance by the deposits and the assets under management that these individuals have accumulated offshore. And secondly, you're likely to get bailed out by the Troika when it comes along. And I think that's indeed what we see in 2010. The Swiss exposure to Greece drops from 39% to about 3%, only about 3 billion euros. So suddenly those bank loans get bailed out.
All right, let's be a little bit more specific, James, here. Which families are involved in the shipping industry?
Well, I'm hesitating to name names here. I mean, I think those families that are well known as Greek shipping owners, are Americans probably remember Onassis, who accumulated a lot of ships from the U.S. military in the late 40s, and then turned them into a very successful tanker business internationally. Then Niarchos was another well-known name. Latsis, Goulandris, Patsis, Karas. There's a relatively tiny handful of relatively well-known, very wealthy families that have dominated this Greek industry. What the new Greek government in January pledged to do was to try to get the cooperation of havens like Switzerland and Cyprus. Indeed, London can be considered a haven from the standpoint of international taxation, get their cooperation in recovering taxation from some of the offshore wealth parked in these places by these elite families. And they've absolutely gotten no assistance whatsoever. Swiss have basically stonewalled them. There's an estimated 200 billion euros at least of private financial offshore money from Greece sitting there being not taxed. So not only is the world shipping industry largely offshore, but you also have the owners of the industry arranging their affairs, so they're not contributing to this crisis.
All right, James, let's pause the conversation here because I want to talk a little bit more about what you mentioned, considering recovering taxes and whether or not this Greek government can do this in the existing structure. So, James, Thank you so much for joining us.
quite welcome.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.
You're listening to Vibes Live Radio with Robin Lynn.
Making love with you is all I wanna do. Loving you is more than just a dream come true. And everything that I do is out of loving you. La 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 la. Doo 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 doo. No one else can make me feel the colors that you bring. Stay with me while we grow old, and we will live each day in springtime. 'Cause loving you has made my life so beautiful, and every day of my life is filled with loving you. Loving you, I see your soul come shining through, and every time that we, ooh, I'm more in love with you. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, doo 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 doo. No one else can make me feel the colors that you bring. Stay with me while we grow old, and we will live each day in springtime. 'Cause loving you is easy, 'cause you're beautiful, and every day of my life is filled with loving you. Loving you, I see your soul come shining through, and every time that we, ooh, I'm more in love with you. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, doo 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 doo.
Girl, I'll pay your rent. Don't worry about a thing. Let me buy your clothes and all those pretty things. Here's some money. It's just some pocket change to do with what you like. It's plenty where that came. Wanna be with you, girl, at any price. Just say you will, and all that will be nice. I wanna do for you everything I can, though you're a young girl and I'm an older man. I just wanna get well, sugar daddy. Buy you everything. car, go on and drive it. But don't you go too far, buy you diamonds and wrap you up in fuzz. Your wish is my command. Just say the word. All those young guys, they're all over you, but baby, don't waste your time. Let me take care of you. Girl, I'll offer you a life of security. Just say you will. Just say you wanna